And with a press of the record button, the next chapter has begun. Welcome to Jason and Dave's Very Terrible Podcast. If I had intro music right now, this is where we would play it. This will actually be the second attempt at this show because I went 20 minutes into the first one and figured out how to erase the recording pretty quick, so that was pretty bad. But otherwise than that, I'm glad you're here with me today. I want to say to the past listeners, welcome back, and to the new ones, welcome all together. This is Jason and Dave's Very Terrible Podcast. I'm Jason. Dave isn't here today. And B Spike on the mic, who is another character that'll show up later on. She won't be on this episode, but she'll be on ones in the future. For any of you that are back from the past, it's been 7 long years. It's been since 2015 since the Very Terrible Podcast has had anything come out. We used to have a YouTube channel. We still have a Facebook page, which I had to erase a lot of old stuff off of. But yeah, if you go back, and I think you can still find it on YouTube, the Very Terrible Podcast stuff. It was us in costumes on a computer monitor, computer camera, like a Zoom meeting style thing, trying to be entertaining. And some efforts were good, some efforts not so good, but it's all part of the evolution. And today's first episode back is basically about how we got here. How did we get here? Who are we? And where do you fit into the mix? So, really quick, this is a step in a lifelong dream for me to be on the air. And people will always, talk about what dreams they have, and astronauts and football players and firemen and policemen and, great careers. And mine has always been something about drawing me to this field, to this radio where there's a microphone and what I joke about is a hostage audience, and we can just talk about things and have fun. And it all started from a very, very long time ago. So, a little about my background is I was born and raised in upstate New York, and I graduated high school in 1995. And from like 95 to 97, I really I didn't have a lot of experience with radio. You turned it on, you listened to music, and then you went on your day. And I was working for a custom car place, I'd call it. And we did sunroofs and window tint and snowplows in the winter, all kinds of custom stuff during the summer. And, we had a radio in the shop, and the owner liked Howard Stern. So at the time, in the mid to late 90s, Howard Stern was in full stride. Great show, had all of his, ducks in a row. He had this ongoing battle back and forth with Bubba the Love Sponge. And every day you'd listen to the show, and you were just, even though you're a listener, you were engaged. You wanted to know what was going to happen next. You bought into all the characters, with Howard and Robin and Baba Booey and all of his cast, and you just had to know what was going to happen next. And like that just drew me in. And you go to work, and I'm like, I couldn't wait to go to work and turn on the radio and go to hear what Howard was going to do next. And it was just, that was the for me, the high point of my interaction with radio was like right off the bat. It was a spark that got me going. I went, man, I would love to be able to do something like that. And over the years and years now have gone by, and this is what brought us to where we are today. So, working for that company in New York State, late 1990s, the company had to pick up and move. The governor at the time implemented a bunch of small business taxes. The company was just, not making the money it needed to, and the owner's father lived in Englewood, Florida. So, with nothing more than a few dollars and a monster pile of debt in my pocket, I uprooted what little few possessions I had and came down here to Southwest Florida, to where the dream then continued because we go back to work, we turn on the radio. Well, we didn't have Howard down here. We had a new group, and they were called the Monsters in the Morning, which has since then become Monsters of the Midday. They were out of I think it was 104.1 out of Orlando. Russ Rollins and his group, same chemistry. You had a great cast, colorful characters, and you're just listening, but you were completely engaged on everything that was going on at the time. And that is what made it really so unique. So I'm convinced there's a playbook. And the playbook really is, having a good handful of characters, not too many, not just one or two people, having an engaging topic day after day after day, and, wrapping it all together in a great few-hour show. And, that since listening even to the Monsters of the Morning, that was syndicated down where I was, so the radio signal didn't get from Orlando to, at the time, Englewood, has now, that show has went off on its own path. And now we have the Mike Calta show out of Tampa Bay off of 102.5 The Bone. And same thing. The chemistry is just amazing. Mike's an amazing host. His entire cast, such good chemistry back and forth. And the challenge, just the immense challenge of every day coming in and being entertaining, putting quality on the radio. You're a listener. You're not even, you could listen or not. The show's still good. And as you're listening, you're talking to yourself in your car. You're talking to yourself at work. You're laughing at the jokes. You're engaged. And that feeling is what primes me to keep going on this path. So, which led now to, how do I get there? So we got back in, say, from 97 to 2008 was my Monsters of the Midday years. And, YouTube, obviously immensely popular, easy to use. Dave and I got together, and Dave's been my closest friend for 20 years, and he's ride or die, man. Everything is on the table. Just, you want to go do it, you go ahead and go. And we came up with this idea, and he says, absolutely. Dumps a few $100s into equipment, and we come over and we start hooking things up to the computer that, come to find out, didn't do anything. I mean, they really didn't. It was like, I think it was called Audio Box, and it had microphones and it had headphones and it had this thing, but the computer program it ran was atrocious. And it was really hard to use. I mean, you open up these programs and then it's a full board. I mean, I'm sure that the people who work in radio have no worries about the board, but I mean, dozens of dials and knobs and buttons and logos and lines that are moving. No, I have no clue how any of this works. So at this point, it was overwhelming. And then we just realized you could just hit the record live button on YouTube and just do whatever the hell you want. So that's kind of how that started out. And we needed a name. We just thought, we'll call it the Very Terrible Podcast. And at the very least, we thought, well, if the show is bad, at least it lived up to the title. So we got that going for us. And if it's a pleasant surprise, no one else has used the name yet, so we've got that going for us too. We don't have editing. I don't have fancy boards. Right now, last week, I dumped $500 and I bought just podcasting equipment. And we're going to start this thing back up because it's been, like I said earlier, 7 years. 2015 was the last attempt from the Very Terrible Podcast to put a show together. And, now we're back and we're going to try to do this on this medium, hopefully a little bit better. If everything works right, we'll have an RSS feed. We'll have a Spotify link and we'll still have the Facebook page. I don't think we're going to tinker too much with the YouTube channel. But the good news is that podcasting is really affordable. And really, I've spent $500 and I've got some really good equipment. It's called the Zoom PodTrack P4. Very easy to use. Comes with some great stuff. Bought their microphone, their headphones. I still have the microphone and headphones from the last kit for other people that want to be on the show. And I've got the wheels are moving, right? So I'm only $500 in. This might actually work out. I guess the challenge that we still have, and maybe this is where you can help out too, is I don't know what I don't know. I have friends that have had podcasts, friends that have been on podcasts. I have people at work who have been on podcasts. I don't know what I don't know. So I'm literally going to YouTube, watch a video, see how it goes, put some stuff together, throw some crap on the wall and see what sticks. This is our journey, and hopefully we're going to do it together. So this is the part where we figure out how can you help? Because the show is not just going to be me on a microphone or Dave and I or 3 or 4 people on microphones just shouting at you. I really want to know what it is that's going on with you. What are you talking about? What do you want to discuss? Why don't you get, there's a lot of room here. Why don't you come on in here with us? So once again, we have our Facebook page. It's just look up Very Terrible Podcast. The background picture is a picture of a broken speaker. The profile picture is a cartoon guy yelling into an old school microphone. We have an email address. So from the title, Jason and Dave's Very Terrible Podcast, the email address is jdvtpodcast@gmail.com. One more time, jdvtpodcast@gmail.com. So, send me your ideas. Send me things that you think would work for a podcast. Send me questions that you have. What do you want to know about us? Later on, we're going to have topics that I'll put down through the Facebook page. Hypothetically, let's say Wednesday, 4 p.m., we're going to talk about college football. Send me, if you want to be on the show, send me your cell phone number and your name, and we'll call you in. This thing has the capability to take phone calls, and that, to me, that's going to work out real well. That means we can incorporate you into this journey as well. And this, it can only make it better if you come on along with us. So I had sat with a notebook earlier today, and I made a list of topics, right? Because you got to figure out what your show is going to be about. Very intimidating, by the way, too. You get on Spotify, and they want you to fill out a profile. So I make this list of topics, and just so you guys know in the background, I've been hitting this play pause button in between getting sips of water and getting a throat lozenge here, and then I kind of forgot where I left off. So if you think I have Alzheimer's, it's not. It's just me. I hit the play pause button and forgot where I left off. But going off my note cards, I've got a list of topics I made up of like things I'm comfortable talking about. So I thought, all right, what are things that I could set everybody up and say, hey, listen, Jason knows how to talk about this. Why don't we go ahead and have a topic? So I love talking about finance, whether it's investing, especially retirement investing with IRAs and mutual funds and stocks and bonds and things like that. Very comfortable with that stuff. I love talking about that all day. College football is my favorite sport. We especially during football season, we can crank away on shows just one after the other because that's awesome. One thing I have noticed is my one topic I like is middle management, right? So no matter what job I've had, whether it was flipping burgers at McDonald's or working for the fire department the way I do now, middle management has always been like my sandbox. It's where I've always been. You always have a boss above you. You have people you're still accountable for, and the struggles and the opportunities and things that come with that one piece of work life is just interesting to me because like right now I work in emergency services, my wife works in healthcare, my friends work in retail, and I can tell you no matter what topic we bring up or whatever wants to be discussed, it comes down to the same handful of issues: communication and consistency. And we break down so many problems by referring to other problems that we've already attacked and already dealt with, and it's a really good time. And hopefully, you guys have short stories to share with us of, hey, look, and here's what's going on in my workplace. Make up names. Let's not. We don't want to get you in any trouble. Make up names, make up scenarios, but we'll get it, and we can break things down. And I really found that there's just a common denominator of just things that happen in the workplace, and no matter what characters they are and what background you put into place, whether I was flipping burgers at McDonald's, putting cans on the shelf at Winn-Dixie and BJ's Wholesale Club, or putting out fires right now, the topics and the problems are still very much the same. And it's, to me, that's really, really interesting. And then I love talking about everybody's different take on life, family, and work balances. How do you traverse that? How do you there's only 24 hours in a day. How do you go about handling that, managing that, and making the most out of your time? Right? So on my show, at least the way I'd like to keep it, we'll see how everybody else does with it, but I try to stay away from politics and religion. I was always thought as if you ever wanted to ruin a party, start talking about politics and religion about it in a group of people, and you'll divide everybody up quicker than anything. And that's so my goal. Of course, you get into like things like finance and things, and usually politics comes into play. However, I'm going to try my very best to try to keep politics and religion out of it. That's, you have your own, and I have my own, and those other people have their own, and it doesn't matter who's right and wrong, really. It's just, so we're going to try to, steer away from that the best we can. And just try to, recapture, what we, make this thing as entertaining as possible. So many opportunities have come my way to try to figure out, how do you get on the radio? And, during my times, especially in retail, we would have grand openings. One in particular was a grand opening of the BJ's Wholesale Club in Fort Myers. Beasley Broadcasting and 1039 came up and set up a tent. And I just went over and just started shooting the breeze with them. And I got my little spiel that I give about, hey, I'd really like to do XYZ. I'd like to be able to get on the radio someday. And very helpful people. I mean, I'm very surprised. And I guess because of podcasting and because of the internet and because of the way things have evolved, radio, the old style of radio in and of itself is really kind of dying away. And, you know, that's kind of how we ended up here where we are. So I meet this one manager for Beasley Broadcasting, very nice man. Gives me his phone number, and this is back in, I think it was 2007. Gives me his phone number, says, "Hey, give me a call. I run the station there down at Fort Myers." So I said, "Okay." Years go by. I kind of just put it on the back burner. This radio thing has always been on the back burner, and I think it was say 2018, 2019 comes around. I'm like, I still have that phone number. I'm going to go call him up. I called this man up. He still works there. He doesn't remember me, which is fine because who would? But I mean, just a pleasurable conversation. And I asked him a very simple question for his field because I know nothing about it. What does it take, like, as an applicant to get a job with that company? What is something that I would need to set me apart from all the other people that want to come in? I've got a college degree. I've got life experience. I'm not, naive, and I've got some life experience underneath me. So I'm not coming in, clueless to how the world works. And I already have a job where I make money. So if you don't want to pay me, that's quite all right. That's fine. Which I guess in the field of radio is kind of the running rate of what they're paying people, unless you're really good. So, like I said, wonderful conversation with this man. He says to me, "Hey, listen, I really, I like the way you did the phone call. I like the way you have this great attitude. In fact, you call me and let me know when you kind of come take a tour of the station." They offered me a tour of the station, and they said, "We can get you in right away in promotions. You're going to be the people setting up the tent and being at the table and giving out the little, gadgets and doodads with the department or station logo on it. And on nights from 3 to 5 a.m., there's an open mic. If you want it, it's yours." I went, "Well, that's all right." So, I mean, there's an avenue. There is an avenue and there is a path. And minus trying to wake up my entire family from 3 to 5 a.m. every day, we're going to try to go this route first. So, this is a step in the right direction. This show may take off. This show may go right to the trash can. I may sit there and hit the delete file another 25 times by accident. We may never even get a show off the ground. Who knows? So the thing is, though, I think, in my opinion, that your engagement with it is as important as my engagement with it. And together we can make a great product. So once again, I invite you to go to the Facebook page, Very Terrible Podcast. Take a look. Send me a message. Send comment on one of the pictures that we've put in. Send me an email, jdvtpodcast@gmail.com. Throw me some topics. Throw me some questions. Throw me, things that you've heard in the past that may work, things that don't work. That's basically how we got here today. Through a dream that keeps getting thrown in the back seat, to where I'm starting to realize as time goes by, I can always make more money. I cannot make more time. And, unfortunately, in my line of work, we've lost a handful of my coworkers far too soon. And in the field that I'm in, cancer is pretty prominent, and it's taken a lot of my friends and too soon. And it's a reminder to let me know that tomorrow is not guaranteed. So we got to make the most of today. We're here. We're going to give it a shot. I really hope you can come with me. And I really wish I had outro music, because we're not there yet. No intro music, no outro music. We're sitting at about 20 minutes. So at the very least, thank you for investing 20 minutes in your day today with me. Let's say I hope it works out. If it does, this is going to be fantastic. And if it doesn't, well, I'm only $500 in the hole. Otherwise than that, I'm Jason. This has been Jason and Dave's Very Terrible Podcast. I wish you health, wealth, and happiness, and we'll see you next time.